Hi, my name is Stephanie Vargas,
And my name is Larissa Salceda.
and our presentation is on understanding Latino identity.
So, we'll be exploring how systemic barriers, cultural expectations, and resilience shape the experiences of Latinos in the US. We use key sociological concepts to unpack these challenges and show how these communities continue to thrive despite them. The goal is not just to highlight the struggles, but also the incredible strength and cultural contributions of Latinos in America. So, let's get started. So, on abstract and research topic. So, this research focuses on how gender roles in Chicanx and Latinx communities are shaped by cultural traditions and patriarchal expectations. Within many families, these roles are deeply ingrained, but feminist movements are challenging them, creating new dynamics. Using theories like symbolic interactionism and conflict theory, we'll examine how power dynamics within families and society shape identity and social interactions. This research is about more than gender, it's a window into the broader transformations happening in Latino communities as they navigate the tension between tradition and change.
The main idea of this presentation is the main idea of this presentation is that Latinos in the U.S. face unique challenges shaped by some systemic barriers, persistent stereotypes, and cultural expectations. But what's just as important is their resilience and ability to maintain their cultural identity while adapting to a society that often marginalizes them. By applying sociological frameworks like symbolic interactivism, simulation, and pluralism, we'll see how Latino identity is formed at intersection of personal experiences and larger societal systems. It's a story of both struggle and strength.
Okay, so starting off with social location and social structure. So, social location refers to where someone fits within society based on things like race, class, and immigration status. Social structure, on the other hand, refers to the broader systems like laws, policies, and norms that influence these positions. For Latinos, these systems often create barriers that limit access to resources. For example, so in the evidence of Martinez, he shows how social location affects access to public assistance, making it harder for Latinos to break out of poverty. These structures are often invisible to those not impacted, but they have a real effect on everyday lives. By understanding this connection, we can start to see how deeply individual struggles are tied to systematic forces. Moving on to sociological imagination and social mobility. So, sociological imagination is about connecting personal struggles to bigger societal issues. It's like zooming out to see the full picture. For instance, if a Latino student struggles to afford college, it's not just a personal feeling, it's tied to underfunded schools, systemic inequality, and discriminatory policies. Loria and Winger highlight how social classes limit access to education and career opportunities, making upward mobility much harder. When we use sociological imagination, we can better understand these patterns and focus on systemic reforms instead of blaming individuals for challenges outside of their control. So, moving on to stereotypes and status, consistency, inconsistency. So, stereotypes about Latinos are like being lazy or dependent, often overshadow their achievements. This creates status inconsistency where someone's accomplishments don't align with how society perceives them. Benton explains how even highly successful Latinos, like business leaders or doctors, still face discrimination rooted in these stereotypes. For example, a Latino professional might still be seen as less competent simply because of their background. Breaking this cycle requires better representation in leadership roles, media, and education, where positive stories about Latinos' success can challenge and replace these outdated narratives. Symbolic interactionism and assimilation pluralism. Symbolic interactionism looks at how our daily interactions shape our identities. For Latinos, these interactions often involve navigating the pressure to assimilate into mainstream culture while holding onto their own traditions. Assimilation can feel necessary to fit in, but pluralism offers an alternative, one where cultural diversity is valued and celebrated. Rodriguez and Rojas highlight how Latinos preserve traditions like language, food, and family values, even as they adapt to broader societal norms. This ability to balance both worlds shows incredible resilience and highlights the richness they bring to multicultural communities. So, moving on to relative poverty and scapegoat theory. So, relative poverty means comparing someone's economic situation to others in society. For Latinos, higher rates of poverty often lead to scapegoating, where they're unfairly blamed for broader economic problems. Benton points out how Latinos are sometimes blamed for job shortages or resource strain, even though systemic issues like wage gaps and limited access to opportunities are the real causes. Scapegoating not only reinforces harmful stereotypes, but also delays meaningful reforms. Understanding this pattern helps shift the focus back to fixing the structural issues that create inequality in the first place.
Hispanic Americans and social class. Social class is a key factor in shaping the experiences of Hispanic Americans. Laurie and Winger show how lawyers are so men. Economic status often limits access to things like quality education and housing, which are critical for upward mobility. For example, Hispanic family in a lower income neighborhood might face underfunded schools or fewer job opportunities, which directly affects the next generation. Tackling these challenges requires policies that address both racial and economic inequalities, ensuring that everybody has a fair shot at success. Racialization and norms. Racialization is a process of assigning stereotypes to an entire group of people based on race and for Latinos. This often erases their individuality and cultural diversity. Benton discusses how these stereotypes, like assuming all Latinos are immigrants or uneducated, reinforce harmful norms that impact everything from hiring to education. Challenging these norms requires promoting narratives that reflect the true diversity within Latino communities, showcasing their individually and ritual cultural heritage, standard of living and race. The standard of living for many Latinos is shaped by systemic racism, which limits access to basic resources like housing, healthcare, and stable jobs. Martinez found that racial discrimination plays a big role in keeping Latino families in poverty. For example, housing discrimination often pushes Latinos into underfunded neighborhoods, which affects everything from education to safety. Addressing these barriers means attacking racism at its roots through better policies and stronger protections for marginalized communities. Cultural and immigration status. Immigration status can deeply shape the challenges and strengths of Latino communities. Rodriguez and Rojas highlight how undocumented Latinos often often face significant barriers but continue to preserve their cultural traditions. For example, even while navigating legal and economic difficulties, many families maintain bilingual education and cultural celebrations. This resilience not only keeps their heritage alive, but also enriches the broader communities they're a part of. It's a powerful reminder of why diversity and inclusion matter. The nature versus nurture debate asks whether behavior is shaped more by genetics or the environment. For Latinos, prejudice often stems from false belief that their struggles are innate rather than systemic. Benson debunks these ideas, showing how discrimination in areas like education and employment shapes outcome far more than any so-called nurture, natural traits. Recognizing the role of societal factors helps us challenge these biases and create fairer f- um, sys- systems that give everybody a chance to succeed.
Okay. So, to wrap it up, Latinos in the US face challenges like systemic barriers, cultural expectations, and persistent stereotypes. Yet, their resilience and contributions show how much they enrich our society. Addressing these issues requires systemic reforms, inclusive policies, and a genuine effort to celebrate cultural diversity. By fostering empathy and understanding, we can create a society where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. So, on the next slide, we have our references that we use for our FRP paper. And so this basically concludes our presentation. And so, yeah, thank you so much for listening. Stephanie?
Thank you.
Thank you.